everyone, welcome to my channel. Hope you all are healthy, well, and blessed. This month is Health Awareness Month, and I know while the month is almost over, I wanted to talk about something very near and dear, which is our relationship with mental health. It's a very important topic and a very dense topic as well. And we've seen a collective shift in more recent years with giving voice to mental health. However, why is it that while we seem to be more aware about mental health, more people also seem to be experiencing more issues with deteriorating mental health? So I wanted to discuss that a little bit. You could make the argument that due to increased awareness, we're able to better recognize the signs of mental health disorders more readily, or problems with mental health in general, to which I will agree and disagree. I will agree with the fact that advances are being made as we are becoming more aware as a collective society about that mental health is important, that we should recognize it. I disagree with the fact that accesses to proper mental health care, as well as informed education ingrained into the public consciousness about mental health and care, or just understanding of the origins and how mental health issues develop, is still lacking. So I would agree and disagree on this premise that we're recognizing mental health a little bit more. I think we still have a long way to go. And I just want to preface, this isn't about just diagnosed cases. I'm talking the whole package spectrum of mental health. Part of it is definitely tied in with our lifestyle, and I may cover that in another video, but because this is such a dense topic, I wanted to just focus mainly on how we understand mental health in our everyday lives. Part of it is definitely tied in with our lifestyle, our daily choices. And I may cover that in another video because that is also another dense topic. However, another part which I feel is the root of the issue is that there's a growing misalignment with our perceptions and understanding of mental health and the actions we're taking to create awareness. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I want to preface that I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional. What I'm sharing with you is just things that I've learned on my journey, and conversations I've had, things that I've learned from just studies in school, having gotten a psych degree. I am like, if you want to consult professionals who are licensed in their area of expertise on this, by all means do so. I'm just sharing my thoughts with you today. So first, can we understand it better? What is mental health? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it a disorder? Is it an illness? Is it a state of mind? Or is it all of the above? Does it have a time frame or not? How does it affect me or not? Is there a definition for it, or is there many definitions for this? These are all of the questions swimming through our heads when the topic of mental health comes up in any given conversation. And I'm sure there's more questions, but these are just a few striking ones that typically might come up in people's minds. All of these questions, like I said, are cycling through our heads because the true definition of mental health is an incredibly broad one, covering many different areas. To say it's one thing is a bit presumptuous, seeing as that we know at least what I believe to be only a fraction of how the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind interact with one another and how they evolve over time. There's still so much about the brain that we don't quite understand today. Forget the rest of the body because there's so much about that we're still learning about today, but the brain in itself, we've only really scratched the surface of understanding it. So why don't we just let's stop making mental health to be one singular thing and start talking about it as a package, that it can include states of mind, diagnosable mental health disorders, chronic mental health illnesses, and so on and so forth. Because it is all of that. And I feel that sometimes we like to box things in, and not that it's bad because it helps us to better understand our world when we categorize things, but I think it's rather just understanding this umbrella term that is mental health and that many different things can fit under it. Next, let's normalize it by admitting that mental health affects us all. While there are certain genetic factors that can make someone prone to developing certain mental health problems in life, the fact of the matter is that anyone at any given time can experience depression, stress, anxiety, thoughts, suicide. The list goes on and on. There's so many different things encompassed in mental health, and any one of us is prone and susceptible to it. And also, just why should mental health be seen as a bad thing? I often find myself in different conversations around mental health, and I feel like it has kind of the stigma of if it's brought up, it's a bad thing. We understand health to be good and needed, but suddenly when we add mental in front of that, then we have a problem. Um, and when most people think mental health, they think, oh, something must be wrong with me, or oh, I must be broken in some way. And again, there is just such a stigma that persists to this day that if I have problems with my mental health or if I go to get therapy for my problems, then people will think I'm quote unquote crazy. And I get it. No one likes feeling like an outcast or an outsider, even the ones that don't care what anyone thinks of them. And just to dispel that myth, if there's one person out there you care about, trust me, you care to some degree, or you regard what they think, or consider what they think, or whatever. You care, period. Um, to simply dismiss that as a dose of just live your life without understanding the context doesn't get to the root of the problem. Something makes people feel uncomfortable in expressing their actions around this issue because it's less about others' perceptions and I believe more about the environment that has made a nesting ground for these perceptions and stigmas. Mental health in society functions almost on an us versus them mentality by picking apart what's normal and what's not. And it shouldn't necessarily be that way, but that is the case. That's kind of where you have this, the defensive, I'm fine, or they're fine, becomes more of a vocalized presence in people's everyday conversations around mental health. If someone is presumed to care about their mental health, then they're seen as not normal in some way, or they're kind of shunned or just discouraged from thinking along those lines because, again, it goes back to the whole this person has a problem. And there are enough examples of this even in the media, like preying on influential people in vulnerable states of introspection into their state of mind to paint them as crazy or irrational. So I don't need to harp on that list. We see it every day. But this demonizes the acts of caring about mental health and also ostracizes a community seeking guidance and validation, in addition to ultimately disempowering us all from improving the collective understanding around mental health by feeding into societal stigmas. I'll let that sit with you for a little bit. So, what should it mean to the average person? Um, it means that we take up the mantle of becoming more self aware. I know that sounds maybe easier said than done, but it really does start with us, each and every one of us. Before we can empower the world, we first have to empower ourselves. we look within and get honest about the biases we hold around mental well-being. We take the time to address our feelings and thoughts, the light and the dark, so the good and the bad, because we're not just one thing. And we create a conscious relationship with them. We get honest with our strengths and our weaknesses, celebrate our triumphs, and have grace and forgiveness for our moments of error. It's, I think we sometimes get a little too hard on ourselves with things that happen, and I know I have those moments, but it's important to also have grace with yourself, as well as acknowledge some of the things that you need to work on. And this is all with the intention of just becoming better people. If you go in with the mindset that I want to grow as an individual, I want to become a better person, a more holistic being in this life, then that's how you will automatically operate that way. Well, nothing's automatic, but you know where to put in your efforts to at least grow yourself into a better individual. We acknowledge that this is not, a one and done process, like I said, but it's a continuous journey of self-reflection, and it will have its highs and lows. But it will ultimately be a valuable process of growth. And that's really the goal at the end of the day. And of course, if we need additional guidance or perspective, we can also look into avenues for counsel or therapy that shouldn't be stigmatized. It's really about gaining a better perspective into ourselves. And sometimes we need an outside looking in. Sometimes we need that just different perspective to really understand ourselves better. While we travel in our own path towards self-awareness, it doesn't necessarily mean we don't need help in doing so. And by each of us taking up the responsibility of growing our mental health, we're beginning to make a collective difference. Again, it starts with us before we can see a change as a collective. So let's talk about the collective a little bit. On a societal level, what can we do? Well, let's speak more on mental health. As a universe we all live in with many different parts. It's not about it being good or bad. It simply exists as another piece of the puzzle that makes up who we are. Let's normalize the truth that mental health is an all of us topic. We all have a brain or a mind, and it too requires conscious care and attention, just like taking care of our bodies requires care and attention, and taking care of our spirituality requires care and attention. It's the same thing. Let's be advocates also for services meant to educate and counsel us in our own mental well-being. There's nothing wrong with seeking guidance or perspective. So therapy or counseling should be accessible and utilized if need be. So I hope you found this talk valuable. I hope you feel empowered on your journey with your mental health. And, until next time, stay golden, my wonderful warriors.